probably just start with like what's been going on recently with yourself. I mean, you know all about what I'm doing because you know what trend I'm doing, you know what I'm working towards. Be good to. I'm quite curious what you're up to. Like, how are your trainings going? What's the plans for yourself?
So at the moment, I'm enjoying training. I think that's as far as it goes at the moment. Not working towards anything specific in terms of like goals or like obviously competing or anything on that front. More so just enjoying what I'm doing at the moment, focusing on the business as well, working on things behind the scenes and just making sure that the training that I'm doing at the moment is coinciding with how I'm feeling day to day and just making sure I'm performing at my best. I'm always contemplating what do I do next, where do I go from here, as we all are. With yourself jumping on stage as well, I'm often like, oh, do I want to go back there? Have I got that itch to see if I can get back up there and see what's what? Potentially, I'm never gonna say no, to be honest. So maybe do we look at something like that over the next 1 to 2 years potentially? But yeah, it's something that I'm thinking about and something that I'll assess at a later day. Like we have our photo shoots and like I've obviously been through a few photo shoots and done that front, but like that nothing quite hits like the locked in feeling of a prep to then step on stage to show your absolute best. So
Yeah.
we'll see on that front.
You know, you've just let the cat out of the bag, don't you? I've,
Oh yeah, of
I,
course. Ah yeah, sure. Edit. Yeah, that's it. So
I haven't actually kind of like confirmed or said to anyone. I've told a few people that I'm interested in having a go, but I've not. I think until I actually register and sign up.
yeah,
I mean, we've talked about it. It's obviously something that I do want to do. It's the whole
yeah.
point of what this next year is going to be about. But yeah,
I think it's one of them, Phil, where you have me in your corner currently, egging you on to do something like this because I know that how much you'd enjoy it, but how much of a benefit it would be to you as well. I
yeah,
think it's times like this where you need somebody in your corner to be like, right, let's do this, let's get you up there, let's see what you can do. And I think that we're in that exact situation at the moment. Maybe if I wasn't here, you'd be contemplating it next year, the year after, the year after. So I
yeah.
think why not? Let's go for it.
Well, I think we saw enough from the recent like check-in photos when I got to the end of that fat loss phase a few weeks ago, where we were like, you're probably not that far off. I mean, I don't think I'm there. I don't think I was there yet, but I think a few more weeks from there probably would be close enough.
Yeah, 100%. I think not far off at all. I think that this is where we've done it the right way, though. I think that going through getting you as lean as possible, like we did, to then go into a gaining phase where we can essentially work on the areas that we need to and get you into a spot where you are optimizing every single area that you possibly can be. Training, nutrition. Obviously, coming into to working with myself, things were a little bit all over the shop. Like you had a great foundation, don't get me wrong, but this is where if you had a better start point to the most recent cut we did, no doubt that you would have obviously looked a lot better than you did how we finished. So we worked with what we had. I think that next time round, if we can continue as we are going, which are in an incredible spot right now, and build a base to be able to work from an even better base, then I think if we can come in with the same attitude and achieve not far off what you achieved in your most recent fat loss phase, I know that you're going to stand up there in an incredible position. Definitely.
Yeah. It's Are you working with a coach at the moment?
I'm not. No.
No. You have done multiple
I
times
have
though.
them plenty of times, yes.
I mean, and you've competed as well. Would you have even contemplated doing that by yourself?
To be
Well, you
honest,
did,
no.
didn't you? No.
Yeah, well, no. To be honest, I wouldn't know because that was one of the reasons why I initially got a coach. I knew I wanted to compete. For me, I had the education. To be honest, I believe I had the knowledge to a degree, but getting stage condition was a completely different level. That I knew how to get lean, I knew how to drop body fat, but reaching that top, I don't know, let's call it the top 5%, 3% of stage condition, I didn't know how to get there. So it was almost like if I get a coach, I know that I'm almost committing to what I'm going to tell that coach in terms of the goals I want to work towards in the future. And stepping on stage was exactly the intention I had. Went in, I said, look, I want to compete. Let's do what's required for me to get up there and showcase my best and off we go. And it was simple as just executing the plan, and the rest is history.
I think one of the things I found interesting, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, is, or maybe tell me your experience with this. When you're a coach and you work with a coach, the difference that you then understand from being on both sides of the fence, you you've already experienced the coaching side, but then you're almost experiencing what it's like to be a client as well. It kind of almost gives you that backdoor view to, oh, this is what it's like. Okay, I understand my clients better now because I'm a client as well. And the emotional difference between how you approach somebody else and how you approach yourself is completely different.
Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely right. It's one of them where you you being held accountable finally by somebody and having them in your corner just forces you to level up instantly. And it is simply as just holding yourself to the higher standards to the person that you are working with. And I think that, yeah, you're absolutely right. When you see it from a lens of a client perspective, you almost put yourselves in the shoes of your own clients. And
Yeah.
this is where you've said to me previously, like I don't like when clients don't do their steps, and I can completely relate. When clients don't do their steps, it's sort of frustrating. Or when they're skipping like meals and stuff, it's frustrating because you've put yourself in the position of a client where you haven't put a single foot wrong, you know. So it's doable. Especially as a father, a family, etc. You've got a hectic lifestyle. You've still managed to do it. So it's almost like holding you to that standard of like, yeah, it's absolutely doable. Now this is what I expect of my clients. But the biggest difference is you're somebody who values incredibly like how you look, what you're working towards your business as well. Whereas some of these guys, like their body, their fitness, etc., isn't the highest of their priorities. So it's how we can shift that to the top whilst working with them, and that's exactly what coaching is, right?
Yeah. One thing I found interesting, and like you'll probably laugh at this, the amount of times where I've come at you with a little bit of frustration or why is this happening? I know fine well why it's happening. Like I can answer my own questions, but I still come in and go, why is the skill not doing this? But if I was talking to myself, I'd be like, Phil, you know why the skill's doing this?
Yeah,
Like stop being daft.
absolutely.
But
Yeah, but
but it
go on.
it yeah, when you're on the other side of the fence as well, you can't see the wood for the tree sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. It's that reassurance as well, though. I know you message me knowing full well what you're messaging me, you know the answer to. I give you the answer that I think, and then you read that and you're like, yeah, he's right, and I was right all along. So it's almost just the reassurance where when you're on your own, you don't get that reassurance. It's constantly in your head. You're second guessing. You're like, do I do this? Do I do that? Like the amount of overwhelm and frustration that you sense when that's the case is insane, right? It's a
Um,
hard place to be. Whereas when you've got somebody telling you, like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like it's so reassuring,
yeah.
100%.
There's two things a couple of things that have come out of this. One of them is something that I hear a lot is people trying to do both things at once. People trying to lose fat and build muscle at the same time, and hopefully by showcasing what I'm doing now with you and what I'm doing with my own clients, it's getting that message across that there's a reason why people work in phases. There's a reason why you're going to get where you want to be faster by being very specific about the goal and the outcome that you want, and not trying to do this mishmash of everything. Because like I have so many people telling me that, oh, it's going. I'm doing really well. I'm doing really well. I'm smashing the gym and I'm eating healthy. It's like, yeah, you told me that 4 months ago.
So
Has your weight changed? Oh, I haven't been on the scales. Like,
yeah, you're right. The biggest thing here, people don't know where they're heading. They don't know what to be looking at each week to decide progress. Like if you ask 90% of people like that, what would you see as progress in your fitness goals at the moment? They'd be like, well, probably looking a little bit leaner and dropping a little bit of body fat. So how close are you to achieving that with what you're putting in place at the moment? Well, it's very slow. It's been a couple of years now, and I'm still not there. And I often think, imagine you just got your head down in a specific fat loss phase for 12 weeks, 16 weeks, 20 weeks, you would be exactly where you want to be. But because you don't have that intent, you don't know like what phase you need to be in, you don't know what you want. This is where it's incredibly difficult for them to just commit 100% to getting their head down. That's ultimately what it is. This is one of the biggest things I see, to be honest with you. And I know a lot of coaches are against like doing specific phases. They say you don't really need a fat loss phase or you don't need a cutting phase, etc. It's exactly what both of us do as coaches, and we see the results that our clients achieve. And it just provides so much clarity around the client's behalf in terms of, right, I'm dropping body fat for the next 16 weeks. This is what's acceptable. This is what isn't. I'm going to get my head down. I'm going to work as hard as possible. At the end of 16 weeks, they're there. If they didn't have that, you're right, it'd be a year, 2 years floating along, thinking they're dropping body fat, gaining muscle, whatever. Like, it's such a hard place to be.
Yeah. But social media will have you believe that you can do both at once quite easily, and we know that's not the case. I mean, I've spent years and years, decades probably, spinning my wheels trying to not want to be in a diet for too long, because you kind of see the other side and you're like, but I want to train heavy and I want to build muscle, and so
Yeah,
I'm just going to eat more, but then that spoils your diet, but then you're not losing weight, and it
100%.
just it
Yeah.
just becomes really, really messy.
Yeah, definitely. The thing is, those people who say that you don't really need to be in a cutting or bulking phase, once in their life probably got to where they are today by going through a bulking and cutting phase. That's the thing. They're in a position where they've got the muscle tissue, they've got the lean condition, they've been through the phases previously, but now that it probably doesn't align with the route that they want to go down, because they want to tell people, yeah, you can do either, like, you don't have to commit to phases. It's looked at as a very old school approach, in my opinion. Bulking and cutting, people are like, is it really still relevant? In my eyes, it's exactly what I do with my clients, similar to you, and it works.
Yeah,
So that's what we're going to stand by.
yeah. The interesting thing I find is that the bulking side of it, or certainly the build. I hate the word bulking. It's the wrong term. Building. I actually think it's much harder from an adherence point of view to get your head around and to stick to than a fat loss phase is. If once you're in a deficit and you've decided that's what you're going to do, I think it's fairly easy. And given that you've got this deficit, let's say it's here, even if you're not like 100% strict, and the deficit closes and it gets smaller, or you have a day where things don't go right, you're still on the same course, you're still on the same track. You've maybe slowed your progress down a little bit, but you're still heading towards the same area. When you go the other way, the margin for error has a much bigger impact. Like we've discussed, if you start screwing up and overeating, then you're going to massively impact the amount of time that you've got to make those changes, because you can lose fat relatively quickly,
Yeah,
but you need as much time as humanly possible to build muscle.
yeah, you're
And
right.
if you start cutting that short we've had this conversation, like once the belt gets loosened a little bit, right, Phil, you're allowed more calories now. Oh, great. Does that mean I
Yeah,
can have a little bit more and a bit more? Like, no, you can't. In fact, the control has to be even tighter.
yeah.
But because you're not seeing that measurable result week on week like you do in a fat loss phase, it's so much harder psychologically to stick to, I think.
Yeah, oh no, I fully agree. I think the margin for error when building is a lot smaller than people think, to be fair. Um, and you're right. Once you add in the term, right, we're building or we're working towards gaining muscle tissue now, it's almost like you let off a leash, and it's like, right, here we go. Let's consume what we can and eat as many calories as possible. But you have to be just as diligent within the building phase than you do a fat loss phase, for sure. I think it's key though what you mentioned in terms of that measurable progress, and this is the biggest thing that I see among clients is every single week they're waking up a little bit leaner. They might not have been 100% across the board, but they're a little bit leaner. They're noticing the condition. They're noticing the energy changes. They're noticing all the benefits that come with that. When we look at gaining or building phases, like what are we measuring? Okay, strengthening the gym's going up. What else? For most people, like getting stronger in a gym isn't a big driver as to like where they want to go or what they want to achieve. Yes, looking a bit fuller, gaining a bit of muscle, but then people are like, well, I'm gaining body fat. I'm like, I see the fat accumulating. It's such a hard place to be, like psychologically. Like I've had a client recently who really struggled psychologically to set herself in a building phase for 12 to 16 weeks. And I literally just said, we are going to keep going. She's never done one before, but she knew. She'd come to me telling me, just make me do it. And I was like, we're going to keep going, keep going. By the end of the building phase, she looked incredible. She clearly like gained good tissue, physique looked fresh. She was diligent as possible, and I was like, well, that's what's possible when you put yourself for
Yeah.
a specific phase.
Interesting that you said she, because I find this more with women than I do with men. Um, once you give them more calories, they're like, hold on a minute, I've just gone through a lot of hard work to get this fat off. Now you want me to put weight back on, and they become really scared too. And I notice that a lot. Men aren't so bothered, because I think they don't mind it. They can accept it a little bit more. But I think when women have gone to the hard work and effort to lose it in the first place, it's very difficult for them to see it come creep back on, even though it's kind of necessary for the greater good. And you know for a fact they'll get it, it'll come back off again straight away.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had someone where, we got a few months in, I'm like, you've literally only put a few pounds on.
Yeah.
You can lose that few pounds in 3 weeks,
Yeah.
but you've only gained it in 4 months. So what are you worried about? Keep going.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. I think it's from a coaching perspective, it's the expectations, mapping out the expectations prior to the client and what's expected within the phase that they're going in. Like realistically, any client who comes to the end of a fat loss phase, they get super lean. Yeah, they want to stay there, but realistically, they're not going to be able to stay there for long. Um, Calories are low, output's going to be high. They're going to feel pretty battered, but they love what they see in the mirror. This is where, as we know, similar to you, this is where that necessity of getting calories back into a good spot, even just sat at maintenance in a good time frame that allows them to like minimize hunger and feel good. This is where it's so important, to be honest. And
It's
this
almost
is the
like
hardest thing.
it's almost like you introduce a few more calories and let your body catch up. Then when it's caught up, introduce a few more, let it catch up. I think where I've made mistakes in the past is just gone right. I'm in a build phase now. I need to go straight into a surplus. Bang, 3,500 calories. 4 weeks later, I'm like, I've
Yeah.
put so much weight back on. The other interesting thing as well that I find with when you put people in fat loss phases and you tell them, you obviously tell people that you want them to you still want them to get stronger, you still want them to push in the gym, to push for progressions. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to achieve them, but um, they should try. They should strive for them. But the amount of people that come back and with the frustration that I'm not getting any more PBs, I'm not getting stronger, I'm not in a fat loss phase. I'm like, you're not really supposed to, and it's not expected. Your
Yeah.
job here is to hold your strength as much as possible and not let it drop. You're not going to gain muscle here. You're keeping hold of it, and I think that's a tough one for a lot of people to get into their heads. They worry when they see like a couple of reps drop off, or they have a day where they feel a bit tired and battered, and they didn't quite get the output they did last week. I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I think we can become very attached to reps and sets and how we're performing in the gym too frequently, probably on a weekly basis, and kick yourself when you do see a rep come off. But regardless of the phase that you're in, like what's your lifestyle factors been like, how has your sleep been, how has recovery been overall, like was it a stressful day, what time of day did you train, was it 5 p.m. as opposed to 6 a.m., mindset's clogged of all the workload you've had to do over the course of the day. Like these are all things that we need to consider, which on a client front they just see, oh, the reps have gone down, strength has gone down slightly, but realistically it's everything else that comes with that, right, as we know.
Definitely. When someone chooses a coach, what do you think is one of the biggest kind of factors in making that decision? So, I mean, I'll be honest. When I chose you, obviously I'm part of coaching concierge. There's any number of coaches I could have chose from. I've got my own reasons for why I picked you. What do you think is primarily the reason that someone would choose a coach, or why you chose your coach? Because I mean, at the end of the day, yes, we've all got slight differences, but a lot of us all kind of do a lot of the very same stuff.
Yeah. So I've always really based this off. I want. I've always reached out to a coach who inspires me. To be honest with you, and I know it doesn't sound cheesy, but I want to feel inspired by the person at the other end who's telling me to do stuff that I know that they've been through themselves. Like they've done what I want to do. They've put themselves through the ringer and done the hard work. And for me, I find that inspiring. And I think if I'm being coached by a coach who's done the exact same thing, they've held themselves to the higher standards, then for me that's enough. I have gravitated towards the same coach now for a few years back. Reason being is when I go to him, I know exactly what I'm getting. I know I'm getting straight talking, I know I'm getting the highest standards, and I know that he can deliver the result that I'm looking for. So if I was to look elsewhere, my reasoning would probably be, okay, let's just see how another coach does it, or let's just see how his way of doing it. But ultimately, like if I'm happy with the approach and happy with how they get me there, then I'm always going to be gravitating towards the same sort of coach,
Yeah, it's not like
like long term.
it's not like pro bodybuilders who seem flip flop between, like they have a different coach every single year.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. It's exploring other avenues, though. I think it's exploring what other coaches have to offer. But ultimately, there's not much dissimilar, to be fair, between like most coaches. I think communication. I want to know that he's able to communicate with me in an effective way. Like I vibe with him a little bit. I can have the crack if I need to, but ultimately underpinning it is you tell me what to do and I'll do it. And I want you to be straight talking
Yeah.
to me
I
as
think the
well.
vibe element's important. I think
Yeah.
I could liken it to, why do people choose the type of car that they drive? Why do people
Yeah.
choose the partner that they're with? It's even though, you know, every car's got four wheels, an engine, and a seat and a steering wheel, there's a reason why someone picks an Audi or a BMW or a Skoda or a Ford or a Peugeot
Yeah.
or whatever. You just have a bit of a once you have a connection to something that or someone that maybe just talks on the same level as you kind of you vibe with them. You have that kind of personal. I kind of like how this person talks. I don't like how that person talks. Therefore, I'm just going to gravitate more towards that person. I
Yeah.
think we talk a lot about what makes you different. Well, I think the main thing that makes you different is you. It's
Yeah.
it's it's your personality, how you come across, what your own experience has been, what you've done in your life, how you do things now, just how you come across.
Yeah, 100%. You're absolutely right. And I've said this time and time again, like just be a good fucking person. There's a lot of coaches, no, honestly, there's a lot of coaches out there who would just, and I don't want to slam other coaches, but like you just have to be a nice person. You have to understand your clients. You have to just be nice, And it certainly shows the coaches who are doing well. They are like they care about their clients. They're compassionate. Yes, they push them hard and they'll hold up the mirror when necessary. But underpinning everything is just the fact they're good people, and they're successful because they that's exactly what they are for sure.
Definitely. Conscious of time, mate. Have we
No,
got
you're right. All
have we
good.
got are
Yeah,
we
yeah.
good
Carry
for
on.
one more
Yeah.
topic? I did want to kind of pick your brains about just industry trends, what you kind of see coming and going over the years, what seems to be popular, what's in, what's out, what are people talking about. Obviously, I think one of the big ones we'll probably get onto is the rising use of peptides. What else have you seen? Like what else has kind of like come in and gone out and put you on the spot there?
Yeah. Do you know like
Even from a
uh,
supplement point of view or a food point of view.
I'd say the biggest one, to be honest with you, is and I don't know if it's because of the age we're at, I don't know, but the rise in sort of the conditioning side of things, the HYROX side of things as well. The running, like everyone's running mad recently. Like from a training point of view, I think to be honest, that's the biggest shift that I've seen over the past couple of years is everyone going down that route and really designating all their time towards that style of training.
Yeah. I notice that when I'm speaking to people is when you ask them what they're currently doing, they're literally I don't know how they recover, quite
No.
frankly. The amount of people I speak to who are literally doing something every day, and like I'm training 3 or 4 times a week. I'm doing two HYROX classes. I've got a marathon coming up next week. I've got an ultra marathon in 2 months' time. I'm like, really? How are you managing to do this? I, I struggle with my 4 weight training sessions.
Yeah.
Like, you're either not training hard enough, or
Yeah, yeah,
you're,
yeah.
you're just superhuman. I don't I
Yeah.
don't understand how you're doing all of this stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I think that there's only so long it can be done though, if I'm honest with you. Like people are left to their own devices when it comes to this style of training and I see what happens. I see the trends like they go through 6 months of absolutely smashing it, loving everything they're doing. Off the back of that 6 months, they're battered. The bloody ACL's gone. They're struggling to walk up the stairs, like injury prone as well. And it's simply because like they just get caught in this wheel of work pushing hard from a conditioning standpoint, but then neglecting the resistance training side of things completely as well. For me, and I'm sure you'd agree, like resistance training should underpin everything anyone does if they're training. Whether it's HYROX or not, marathon training, like you need an element of resistance training in there that I think underpins everything as the foundation to what else that you're actually doing. But for some reason, it's the other way around. I'm gonna go for 2 runs this week instead of doing my weight set training session. For me, like it's backwards, and it's a hard place to be as a coach because I wouldn't say it's right way, but I've seen the clients who have come in doing a lot of running and neglecting their resistance sessions, etc. And yeah, it doesn't end well. It's hard.
I think that's because people have this misconception that their individual sessions are what's getting them lean. That's what's getting them to lose weight. So they'll do gym sessions and think, this doesn't feel like this is getting me,
Yeah,
this isn't getting fat off. But if I go for a run and sweat and I'm out of breath, that's burning more fat surely because my Fitbit's telling me that
sure.
it
Yeah,
is. It's like
yeah, yeah. You're right.
it's so
Which is
it's so
where, yeah, which is where like HYROX is not a fat loss tool. Whereas a lot of people will be doing their HYROX classes to burn body fat and get in better shape. Same for running. They'll be going on multiple runs per week because they want to drop body fat. But ultimately, like dropping body fat is easy. We eat in a deficit, we do our resistance training to retain muscle tissue, and we do that for a consistent period enough of time to be
and we
able
walk
to
long enough.
see the scale weight drop. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. On the peptides then. So this has really shot up just in the past year, 18 months. Every single person I speak to now, before it was Manjaro, quite clearly, about a year ago, everyone was on Manjaro for right or wrong reasons. And I will kind of put a little disclaimer. This is I'm not about to knock anybody taking anything. That's not what this is about. But from a trend perspective, everyone did the Manjaro thing. You then saw a lot of people kind of coming off and complaining, right, that didn't work. I've now seen the negative outcome that and there'll be positive outcomes as well for those like clinically indicated for it. But certainly I've spoke to a lot of people and I've seen a lot of instances where it's not worked. They've come out the back and they're now having to try something else. Everyone is taking Retatrutide at the moment. Every single person that I speak to seems to be taking it. Again, this is not a knock. I certainly wouldn't be in a position to say to anyone, don't have it. But what I do find, or what I do feel is, I don't feel like it's been used correctly. I feel as though people are jumping on things because they've tried doing it the right way, but they haven't tried it properly, and they haven't wanted to commit to doing it properly. So, in taking something which is basically taking the edge off, it's removing the hard part, which is saying no to food, and hoping that that's going to work. But unless you're going to want to be on it for the rest of your life, there's got to be a point where you remove it, everything goes back to normal. And I've never heard the term food noise until now. Everyone's talking about food noise. That wasn't a term a couple of years ago, but everyone likes to, oh, the food noise is gone. Everyone has food noise. It's called getting hungry.
100%. 100%.
Like, and I'm not also saying you have to wear this badge of honor to say, I did it without, I did the hard work and I did the graft and I did the suffering. But to a certain degree, you kind of got to, because it's going through that actually teaches you something about yourself. It's, if you're trying to ingrain habits and discipline into yourself, you've kind of got to go through those steps where you say no to things or go to bed hungry or feel a bit tired. I don't know. I feel like some people are taking the easy way out, especially more so general population people.
Yeah, fully agree. I think it's a very slippery slope, to be honest. Anyone, well, firstly, with peptides themselves, I think what we're seeing is, yes, we're seeing a rise in people using peptides, but it's due to the accessibility of being able to just get these. You can literally do a Google search and have them at your door probably in 7 days' time. This is where like having the accessible sort of opportunity to be able to just get them. This is where we're seeing everyone just getting on them and using them as, I don't want to say an easy way out, but I think you've hit everything you've said, like nail on the head. I fully agree with everything. It's a very slippery slope. You're almost putting yourself in a, when we look at RETA, for example, you're putting yourself in a physiological state that is beyond what you're probably capable of in terms of like hunger and capable of in terms of like your own in your own way to a degree. Like you're always going to be up there. You take RETA, you're always up there. What happens when you come off? You come back down here, right? And then you're always questioning, I need to go back on. The amount of people I know who've done RETA, come off. They're like, back on, come off. Then they're like, right, I'm going to do this properly now. They can't do it properly, so they're straight back on. These are in their early 20s. And I'm like, you've got the rest of your life to now sort of get over this psychological block of having to take retatrutide to drop body fat and body weight. It's a very sticky place to be, right?
But do you think? I mean, essentially, I know you can talk about all the triple effect it has on different pathways and how it might have advantages over other things. But essentially, the main thing it's doing is helping you create the deficit that you need to be in. Would you agree that when you're talking about deficits, there's kind of like what should be a safe zone of how far you go? Because once you're starting to get over a 1,000 calorie deficit per day, you're going to be hitting into the realms of you're going too far, and there is an amount of fat that you should be able to drop per week. If you're going too far into that, you're going to be burning muscle tissue. There's no way that's not going to happen. But to be in a 500 to 1,000 calorie deficit is not that difficult, just by removing some food. But if you're then taking something which is, I've spoken to people who have struggled to eat 1,500 calories, like grown men who have struggled to eat 1,500 calories consistently for a good few weeks, and then got to a point where they're so tired and I spoke to one guy. He literally said, I had to stop training. I didn't have the energy to train, and I couldn't eat. I didn't want to eat. But that's to me, that's dangerous levels. Like you don't need to be in that big a deficit, and you can be in the deficit you need to be in just by taking the meals you have and literally reducing them by 10-20%.
Yeah, for sure. I think that it's very person specific, to be honest with you. I'm anyone who takes them, nothing against it whatsoever. We're all adults here, and I think if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. I think there's certainly a right way of going about it and doing it properly. Obviously, if it was done properly, it would be prescribed properly as well. But if you're still going to do it by yourself under your own prescription, it's just I think doing it properly is absolutely essential. But by what you mentioned there, like when somebody I've seen people who have been overweight for like years, and then you see them and they're tiny, and you're like, well, how the hell has that happened? But you also see like facial structures a little bit gaunt. You start to see cheekbones. You can see that they're looking quite stringy within their physique, like they've lost muscle tissue as well. I think this is the issue that most run into, is the fact that they still have to eat. You still have to get your nutrients in. You still have to hit your protein targets, getting your carbohydrates in around workout window. I think it's still very essential, to be honest. But this is where that food noise is getting eliminated. People just aren't eating. They're training. They're then battering themselves with regards to having no energy, fatigue. Then they have to stop training. By then, their muscle tissue is reducing. They're feeling absolutely terrible. And that's the position that they find themselves in. I think used properly, you take retatrutide to limit the snacking, limit the food noise that comes in the evening after you've had your dinner, and like the times in which you are likely to slip is when RETA would be probably very useful. But your main meals that you have in place, I think like there's so much importance around making sure that these are nailed 100%.
And that's the thing as well, just making sure, like again like you, I don't see any issue with people using anything like that. It's improper use with the rest of what they're doing. Like I don't hear that many people saying I'm taking it, but I'm also making sure I'm getting to the gym. I'm making sure that I'm hitting, X grams of protein a day. I'm making sure that I'm not going to lose muscle tissue. It's just completely the other way around. If all you need to lose is a few pounds or up to a stone, like I just don't see it as necessary. If obviously that you've got people that are well at the other end of the scale who have legitimately tried for years and years and years. Dylan talked about this a few weeks ago. Why not? If it's something that someone's battled with for years, and they're at a state where if they don't do something about it, the consequences are even worse. I think that's the main point, is what is the balance between, there's a risk of both sides. If the risk of taking something is less than the risk of staying the same, then by all means take it. But if the risk of taking it doesn't outweigh the risk of not taking it, then that's the bit
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
understand.
no, I agree. I think that people who have exhausted all options and they find themselves at a point where they're like, well, where do I go from here? Because I've tried everything possible. I feel like it's now detrimental to my health that if I keep going this route, I'm going to end up in a worse off position.
100%.
Retatrutide would probably be an incredible tool to be able to use. But what we're seeing is that most people haven't tried to teach themselves the foundations, haven't tried to even just hire a coach, go and teach me about everything I need to know about nutrition, teach me how to structure my nutrition alongside my training. If you've done that, you will have achieved results. And then then you realize, okay, RETA probably wouldn't serve its purpose for someone who is with that mindset. But what people are looking to do instead of hiring, instead of trying to learn more or delve into the topic of nutrition, they're just like, right, I'll take RETA and that'll solve my problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've covered quite a lot on that one. I think the last thing, sorry, going back to trends, and I will make this the last one, Luke. I know you've got to get
No,
away.
that's all right, mate. You carry on. All good.
Um, I think the other trend that we're seeing as well is obviously with AI taking over apps and AI
Yes.
replacing coaches. Ultimately, people still want connection. People still want to be able to have someone to confide in, to share their anxiety with, to be able to say, why is this happening? Why do I feel like this? What's working? What's not working? You can try all day chatting to Claude and try to get it to understand, and it'll just tell you what you want to hear. But I'm seeing this a lot as well with people that I'm talking to. I've got a plan off ChatGPT. Yeah, but have you told ChatGPT everything about your background? Have you told it, why things haven't gone well this week and why you haven't got the result that you expected? It'll make a guess. It's like the same as anyone asking for a meal plan or a training program. I keep trying to tell people that a plan is just a snapshot in time. It's an estimate. It's
Yeah.
You tell me something about yourself, I'll put a plan together which is an estimate of what I think you should do. But
Yeah.
until you actually run it as a program for a couple of 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know what it's going to do to you. But
Yeah.
once you do, and we see what happens, then we can tinker and tweak and adapt and everything else. I said this in a post I did the other day. I think 3 months of the fat loss phase that we did, we probably made about 6 or 7 changes to my diet over that 3 months. Just small incremental changes,
Yeah.
but it's certainly where I ended up at the end looked nothing like what we started with.
Yeah. 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 Definitely. I think AI is an interesting one because in the right hands of somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. Like for me, for example, if I jumped onto ChatGPT, I'd probably do pretty well with being able to bounce back and forth with ChatGPT to follow something that was required to get me where I wanted to get to, because I would be able to spot the crap versus spot the stuff that, okay, that's super valuable. But what we're seeing is obviously people leaning into GPT to just give them a training and nutrition plan. But ultimately, the information's out there. Like training and nutrition plans are easy to get online. Why is everyone not walking around where they want to be with their physique? Like, why is everyone not in shape? It's because underpinning everything is somebody in your corner holding up a mirror or holding you accountable or telling you that you can do better, supporting you. There's, I say this with my clients all the time. Like, a lot of people don't really have a support network. They don't have anyone in their corner. They've got like people around them who are jealous all the time, who don't really want to see you succeed. It's the culture that we're living in. So hiring a coach, like this is the only person who will believe in you more than you believe in yourself. They will support you through thick and thin, and they'll be there for when you feel like, do you know what, I'm really struggling today, or I'm struggling with this. Lean on your coach and get support from him. That's exactly what him or her, sorry, that's exactly what GPT can't give you. It can't hold up the mirror. It can't tell you to sort your shit out. It can't say, "Come on, mate, let's go." Sort your shit out. It can't do it. So for me, like AI as coaches, I don't think it's anything to be worried about, to be honest with you, because it's also getting leveraged in a way by coaches, which is it's not coaching. That they're leveraging it to save time. Ultimately, that they're not saving time. They're just trying to cut corners. And yeah, I think that you can use it to your advantage to save time with certain tasks behind the scenes, but there's certain elements of coaching, like I've just explained, will never change, AI or not.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll give you a good example. Last night I pulled a late one last night. I'm trying to get through as much stuff as I can because we're off to Cornwall on Saturday for a week, as you know. And so I pulled a late one, just trying to get some stuff done. I was tired. It was about 11:30 when I put my laptop down. Um, I went to like prep a few things ready for the morning. I'm in the kitchen and I'm looking and I'm like, should I? No, don't. I was like, I'm gonna have to tell Luke if I do, and I can't. I can't bring me. No, don't do this. Don't do this. And then the other side of it, being a coach as well, like you've got to hold yourself accountable because I I document everything I'm doing. So me checking photos that I share with you, I put them up on Instagram. When I get weighed and I've got my weight graphs, I stick it on Instagram. And I'm like, I'm not going to put another spike on the scales on
Yeah,
Instagram. Like,
yeah.
it cannot happen. I was just like, get yourself to bed. Come on.
Yeah,
It
100%. Do
still,
you
it
know
still
what?
happens.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think being coaches as well, this is where you have no choice but to hold yourself to a standard that is incredibly high. I don't want to say it's a pressurizing place to be because you always have to be on, but at the same time, like it's your
It kind of
business.
is.
You are, yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, you are the shop front. I was actually in the gym, and it's funny we move on to this topic. I was in the gym the other day, and I saw a lad in there who I know, and I said, "How's training going? All good?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, all good. How's everything? You're in training going well?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "You smashing it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I gotta be." And he's like, "Why?" And I said, "Well, because if I'm fat, I'm skint, pretty much." And he said, "What?" I
Yeah,
said, "Well, if I'm fat, I'm skint because I have to show up regardless and get the work done. Otherwise, I'm not going to be in shape and I'm not going to get any clients." And he's like, "Yeah, it must be tough." And I'm thinking, well, no, we do what we've got to do, and we've got to obviously hold ourselves to those standards. So yeah, I think as a coach, it's a non-negotiable. If you're coaching physique transformations and you're coaching people to get in shape, and that's the route that you want to go down, if you're not holding yourself to a position that makes it look like you mean business, then I think you're going to really struggle in today's world.
yeah, definitely. You can't preach to people about, the benefits of how good it feels to look good with your shirt off if you're not prepared to take your shirt off and
Yeah,
and show it.
for
I
sure.
think that was one of the main reasons I did my first photo shoot last year was, I knew what I was teaching everyone else. I knew that I could get results with people. But then, if I really asked myself, are you really happy with how you look now? Like, nah, nah. That's why I did the photo shoot then. It was like, I need to show what this looks like.
Yeah, definitely. And once you do, right, you see, as coaches, you see the impact that it has on business. And I say, as coaches, any businessman, like you start to look after your health and fitness, you see the impact that that has on how you show up daily. It's like people who do preps, photo shoot preps, contest preps, when they say they're tired or business is taking a hit. Me personally, I don't understand it because every prep that I've done, my business has never thrived more than ever because I'm locked in, I'm putting in the work, my head's down, I'm so like I'm diligent with everything that I'm doing, and I think that that's just the impact it has when you have your crap in order. When you're waking
Yeah,
up at a good time, you're getting the work done, you're getting your steps in, you're just feeling good about yourself. It has a knock-on effect into business as well.
definitely, definitely. Look, really appreciate it. I'm gonna call time on it there because we've been on longer than you allowed me in
All
the first
good.
place.
Nah, absolutely
But
fine. Pleasure.
cheers, mate. Been a good one.
Awesome.